In this session, I will explore four things: icons, windows, that's with a small w, controls that are found in Windows, and finally, the mouse, really the mouse cursor. Let's start with icons. On the screen in front of you, what you see are a bunch of icons. There's the icon up here for the recycle bin. There's the icon on the taskbar for the Start button and Start menu. Next to that, I have an icon for Internet Explorer. Next to that, an icon for Windows Explorer. That's how you manage your files on Windows. Next to that, we have the Windows Media Player. Over here in the notification area, I have several other icons. I have one here for our security software, another one for the PC solutions area, one that shows me the battery connection on the computer, another one for the network connection, and then over here we have one for the speakers. And in fact, we can adjust the volume of the speakers by clicking on this. That's a left click, and then moving the slider up or down. So there's a lot of icons here. It is common for people to create shortcuts to applications that they use frequently and put them on their desktop, or to actually save files directly to their desktop. So let's do that right now. Let's create a new file. We'll make a text document, and I'll call this test. If I open it by double-clicking, I see there's nothing in it. I could type test, I could close it, click save, and I've saved it. And you notice that there is now an icon on the desktop for test.txt, because it's a text file. That's what the TEXT tells the computer what application to launch it with. And if I double-click it, you can see it's launched in Notepad up here. So that's icons that you might find on your desktop. Another type of icon could be a shortcut to a computer program. So let's say we want to use Windows Word. And I showed you in an earlier video how to use the search bar on the Start menu. And here it is here. And if I right-click with my mouse and drag to the desktop, I get a choice here, and I'm going to create a shortcut. And so I now have a shortcut that allows me to launch Microsoft Word 2010 directly from the desktop. And you can see this little arrow here. That tells me it's a shortcut and not the actual program. And if I double-click it, that's with a left mouse button, I will see the application. So those are the icons. Let's talk a little bit about Windows with a lowercase w. If we launch Windows Explorer is your file management program that's built into Windows 7. And what you see here is a window. In fact, the reason that Windows is called Windows is because it displays items, whether they're files or applications, in these windowed environments. So I could launch Internet Explorer here and have two windows on the screen at the same time. Don't get confused, by the way. Internet Explorer is a browser for going to the web, the World Wide Web, part of the Internet. Windows Explorer is an application for managing files on your computer. Let's stay with Windows Explorer right now. And what you see here is the window itself. Across the top, we have an area that's referred to as the title bar. Windows Explorer doesn't have a title, but if I bring back Internet Explorer, it doesn't have a title either, making it hard on the old man here. Some of the applications, when you launch them, I'll bet Word has a title in the title bar. There you go. So you have a title in the title bar there on Word. Let's put that down for now. Let's minimize that. So let's stay here with Windows Explorer. And what you see is on the window across the title bar, there's nothing here. We have an address bar here, which tells me where I am in the file system. And then I have a search bar over here, much like the search bar I have on the Start menu down here. Across the upper right corner of the screen, I have 3 controls that let me manage the window. I can minimize it by clicking on this first button, and you'll see it now is minimized into the taskbar. Let's bring it back. And I brought it back, by the way, by just left-clicking once on the icon in the taskbar. One other item while we're here, you notice these milky backgrounds for Internet Explorer and Windows Explorer here. And the reason for that is that these applications are pinned to the taskbar, but they are running right now. And so the milky background tells me the application is actually running. We have a bunch of other icons here in Windows Explorer. Let's go to Downloads for a second. There's nothing in Downloads, but you notice all of a sudden this button here has been enabled. And the reason for that is because we actually have a history that lets us go back and forth. And that's all these buttons do. Then this little control over here shows me where that history is. So if I had a lot of history there because I've been navigating for a while, I could go directly to something rather than having to go back one step at a time or forward one step at a time. Across here at the top, we have some links that lets us manage Windows Explorer. We can add things to a library. We're not going to discuss libraries in this video. I could share with it, or I can create a new folder here by clicking on that button. Over here, I can change the view. Let's go to some place where we actually have something to look at. Let's go to Documents. And I can change the view. Right now, we're in the Details view, but I can use this icon to change how I see things here. Now I have an icon view, and we have several icon view, extra large, all medium, and small. We have a list view, which is very useful, particularly when you have a lot of items in a folder. And then we also have details where we started. We have tiles, and we have content. And you can change these however you want. Windows is pretty good. It remembers the last view you had of a particular folder. So it'll remember that. And you can also quickly change your folder view here to other things. And then over here, next to where I'm changing the view, all right, is a little icon that gives me a preview pane. I don't know if anything here will preview. Let's see. Let's look at this. There we go. It does preview. So you can see what's in a file, or if it's an audio file, you could listen to it without having to actually open it. Let's close that. And then over here we have a icon that will open up a help file. And you can use that to get help, although quite honestly, it's usually easier to use the Google search engine to find help for Windows than it is to use the stuff built into Microsoft Windows itself. So I showed you the minimize icon up here. Next to that is an icon that changes based upon whether the window is not full screen or if it is. If I click on it here, we're not full screen in this picture. If I click on it here, we go full screen, and you notice that this little icon, which used to say maximize, now says restore. Over here, it says maximize. And the way I'm getting that little label is to just hover the mouse over the icon. So, and I can bring it up and I can bring it down. There's a couple of odd but interesting features built into Windows 7 that allow you to very quickly work with your windows. One is if you double click on the title bar in a window, if it's not maximized, it will be. And if it is maximized, it's restored. Same functionality as this key, just by double clicking on the title bar up here. I tend to prefer that myself because it's a much larger target than that. Over here, we have a button that will close the window. That's what the white X in the red box means. And there, it's closed. And you can see the milky background that used to be around the Windows Explorer icon on the bottom here is now gone. Let's open that again. Let's go back to where we were. I think I was in Documents. There we are. And I want to show you a little bit more about the Windows Explorer window since we've been looking at it. On the left side here, you have a navigation panel. At the top, we have favorites. These are shortcuts to folders on your computer. You can create your own shortcuts. So, for example, if I went to Camtasia Studio frequently, I could use the right mouse button and hold it down and drag this over here and drop it and just create a shortcut there. So now, if I'm in Downloads and I want to go to Camtasia Studio, I would just click there. So that's favorites. Libraries is a concept that we are not going to cover in these videos. It is a little bit too advanced. Down here, I can navigate the files, the hard drives, and the files on my computer. So local drive disk C is the hard drive on the computer, and I can look in here and see different things. Normally where you would go is to the users, to your user, and then you would go here. And I'm actually navigating to the same place that we were before. Here's my documents, and lo and behold, here's Camtasia Studio. So I got there that way, or I got there this way. But this is a navigation panel. You should familiarize yourself with it. It's very useful for finding files. And by the way, if you can't find a file, you can always search in here. You can see here it's remembering the last search I did, which was for all files with the extension MP4. So that's Windows Explorer. Oh, I was going to tell you a couple other things. If you drag the Windows to the right side of the screen all the way over, Windows 7 will automatically fill the right half of the screen with that window. Why would you want to do that? Well, let's open up another Windows Explorer window. And let's drag this one over to the left side. And the way you drag, by the way, is to get your mouse cursor over the title bar on the window, and then hold down the left button while moving the mouse all the way to the left. And you notice when I did that and released the left mouse button, that Windows Explorer window opened up to the left half of the screen. And now I could compare two folders if I wanted to. If I drag the screen back off of the left side, and I'm doing it the same way, I'm holding down the left mouse button after I've got my mouse cursor over the title bar, and then I just drag it off. You notice it returns to the same size it was before. Let's do it with the other window. And there you see. One other thing you can do in Windows 7 is you can drag the window to the top of the screen, let go, and now it's full-sized. And if I drag it off, it returns to its same size. So that's something about Windows. You've looked a little bit about icons. You've looked at a little bit of the controls that we see in Windows. And these are common. This minimize, maximize, or restore, and this close, you will find in all Windows. You will find other controls on a application depending upon the type of application it is and how the programmers designed it. Let's close Windows Explorer and let's talk about the mouse icon. Most of the time your mouse will be a cursor, a pointer, like you see here that I'm moving around on the screen. Let's open up Word and show you. Immediately you see two cursors on the screen. One is my mouse cursor, but it's no longer a pointer. It's now an insertion point. And then I see a blinking cursor here in Word that's telling me where the mouse cursor is actually in the document. So let's add some text here real fast. Maybe not so fast. There we go. So I've got quite a bit of text here, as you can see. All right. My mouse cursor, if I take it off of the document itself, so it's no longer hovered over the document area itself, becomes the pointer that you're used to. If I bring it back here, it changes first to a pointer that lets me look in the margin here because there are things going on. And if I get it in the document, you notice it becomes the insertion point. So if I click here, left click, you can see that's where the cursor is in the document. I wanted to show you a few other controls while we're here. This, of course, is Word. There are tabs up here that let me use different controls depending upon what I want to do. And we will discuss that in a later lesson when we talk about Word. But I wanted to show you this, which is called the scroll bar, that's on the right-hand side of the screen. I can drag it. Remember, the way we drag is to position the cursor over the item we want to drag, and then we hold down the left mouse button and move the mouse. And you can see I'm very quickly moving through this multi-page document. Okay, so that's what a scroll bar is. And you can have, these are vertical scroll bars. You can have horizontal scroll bars if the item that you're looking at extends beyond the margins of the screen. So let's make this larger till we get there. And you notice I now have a scroll bar down here that lets me move back and forth. If I make this even larger, you can see not all the text shows up on the screen. So those are scroll bars. I wanted you to see them. They have, besides the scroll tab in the middle here that you pull on, you also have an ability to move more finely with these arrows, these triangles at the top and at the bottom. And down here I can move by whole pages. But that's your introduction to icons, windows with a small w. We're not going to save this. Controls, those are the little icons, the minimize, the maximize, restore, or close buttons, as well as scroll bars. We looked at that, and mouse cursors. And you notice the mouse cursor changes based upon the context of where the mouse is.